Hello everyone. Greetings to all the viewers from my side. Myself Dhwani Advaryu from third year family. Today in this video we will be learning on the topic chlorpropamide, which is an anti-diabetic drug of the class sulfonylurea, which is used to treat high blood glucose level in the body. In this video, we will be learning about the mechanism of action, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, dose, adverse effects, contraindications, and many more things about chlorpropamide which you need to know. So let's begin. Chlorpropamide is an antidiabetic agent of the class sulfonylurea, which is used to treat diabetes mellitus type 2. There are two types of diabetes, that is diabetes mellitus type 1 and type 2. In type 1, there is due to any genetic problem or because formation of autoantibodies, there is damage in pancreas, so there will be less or absence of generation of insulin on the basis of the severity. And in type 2 diabetes, the target tissues are affected, which become unresponsive to the insulin which is secreted in the body. So this drug, that is chlorpropamide, is used to treat the type 2 diabetes mellitus, where by its mechanism of action, which we will study later, it will increase the secretion of insulin and even the increase the sensitivity of the target tissues towards the insulin. It is a long-acting first generation sulfonylurea and it is effective orally, so administered orally in the form of tablets. Then this is the classification of sulfonylurea, where you can see it consists of first generation and second generation. So first generation consists of chlorpropamide and tolbutamide, and second generation consists of glyburide, glipizide, glimepiride and all. In the figure you can see which is the chemical structure of the drug chlorpropamide. And first generation agents have longer half-lives and were introduced in 1957. Even in first generation, when we compare both the drugs, chlorpropamide has longer half-life than tolbutamide. So we can say that there are more chances of hypoglycemia when you administer chlorpropamide than in tolbutamide. Then this is the mechanism of action of the drug. First, we will see the pancreatic action, that is the action of chlorpropamide on pancreas. So, as you can see, it acts on sulfonylurea receptors which are present on the pancreatic beta cell membrane. So, this will cause the depolarization, that is by reducing the conductance of ATP sensitive potassium channels. So, this will enhance the calcium influx, which will lead to degranulation. And this degranulation will increase the rate of insulin secretion, so the glucose level is decreased. Then you can see in this figure the same thing which is written in that sentence form. I have kept this figure so you can understand more properly. As you can see, there is a potassium channel of blue color which is shown in the figure. So sulfonylurea drugs will act on that channel. So by depolarization, the potassium channels will get affected, which will then lead to the depolarization of calcium channels. So calcium channels will get open and there will be influx and increased influx of calcium, so which will then lead to release of insulin outside the cells, that is inside the body, which will then cause the glucose level to go down, that is when it is hyperglycemia in the patient, it will lead to the normal glucose level. Then this is the extrapancreatic action of the drug chlorpropamide. After chronic administration, we know that the action of that particular drug will decline because due to the down regulation of the particular receptors on that cells. But in this case, the improvement in glucose tolerance is maintained, which is by sensitizing the target tissues, especially the liver, to the action of insulin. And this is due to the increase in number of insulin receptors or a post-receptor action, improving the translation of receptor activation. But this extrapancreatic action to increase the insulin receptors on target cells and the inhibition of gluconeogenesis in the liver, it has a little clinical relevance, so that doesn't affect the glucose level in the body at a higher extent, so we can say that this effect is negligible. Now we will study pharmacokinetics. This drug is well absorbed orally. 90% or more is bound to plasma proteins, so only 10% is available for the volume distribution, so that distribution in the body will be low. Plasma half-life is 30 to 36 hours, and the maximal plasma concentrations are reached 3 to 5 hours after the quick and nearly complete, that is more than 90% resorption from the gut. Duration of action will be 36 to 48 hours, as we know that it is a long acting oral hypoglycemic agent. It is excreted unchanged in urine. So if any patient is having severe renal impairment, then it will stop the excretion of this drug. So we cannot give or administer such drug, that is chlorpropamide, in any patient having renal impairment. Then longer acting, so there are chances of hypoglycemia, prolonged hypoglycemia. Then this is the dose for chlorpropamide. It is available as 100 mg and 250 mg tablet under the brand name that is most common, Diabinase. Dosage should be individualized, that is it will depend upon the severity of that patient. So and according to the patient's response, doctor will prescribe the dose. We have to administer this drug 30 minutes before the meal so that the absorption is improved. Then the dose for a normal adult is 100 to 250 mg per day. For an adult who is having diabetes mellitus type 2, that is 100 to 250 mg per day, and a higher dose of 500 mg per day can be given to the patient if that case is more severe or it needs more amount of chlorpropamide. But we should avoid the doses more than 750 mg per day. Then the patient having creatinine clearance less than 50 ml per minute, we have to avoid the use of chlorpropamide. And the ones having the creatinine clearance rate more than 50 ml per minute, we will have to monitor this therapy. We can administer that this medicine can be prescribed, but we will have to monitor it thoroughly and closely. And the initial and maintenance dosing should be conservative to avoid hypoglycemia. Then we have to use the lower initial and maintenance dose in liver impairment. Chlorpropamide undergoes extensive hepatic metabolism. Then for the middle-aged stable diabetic, the dose is 250 mg per day per orally initially, and it may increase or decrease by the 50 or 25 mg per day at 3 to 5 day interval. And for older patients, it is 100 to 125 mg per day per orally, and it may increase or decrease by 50 to 125 mg per day at 3 to 5 days interval. Then these are the available marketed preparations, some of them which I have taken pictures and showed you over here. It consists of all the different marketed preparations of chlorpropamide which are available right now in the market. Then the indications, in which conditions can we use this drug chlorpropamide. So it is used in diabetes mellitus type 2, that is non-insulin dependent. So then I have written this, that what is diabetes type 2 in brief. So type 2 diabetes it occurs mostly after the age of 40 years, but generally it is after 40, but anyone can develop it. In type 2, first the pancreas keeps up the body and body's demand by producing more insulin, but with time it loses the ability to secrete enough insulin in response to meals. So the sensitivity of the target tissues will also decrease day by day. And it is non-insulin dependent, so insulin exogenously administration therapy won't be effective because there is secretion of insulin in the body, but the sensitivity of the target tissues has decreased, so we cannot administer insulin in such patients. So generally oral hypoglycemic agents are used. Then chlorpropamide can also be used in diabetes insipidus, which is caused by reduced or absent levels of vasopressin, that is antidiuretic hormone. Chlorpropamide was found to be an effective agent in vasopressin sensitive diabetes insipidus, but this action is limited because it can easily lead to hypoglycemia on higher doses in the patients who are not having diabetes mellitus type 2. So that means that their insulin secretion and all those cycles in the body is normal. So this drug is long acting, so it can easily lead to hypoglycemia in such patients, so its use is avoided. Here I have mentioned partial diabetes insipidus. So in diabetes insipidus there are two types, that is partial and nephrogenic. The chlorpropamide can be used in partial one because in nephrogenic the vasopressin receptors are mutated. So this drug would be of no use in that case. Now the monitoring parameters, that is blood glucose level. In the figure it is shown that the instrument by which we can measure our glucose levels in the blood before and after meals, which is very helpful to the diabetic patients to control their sugar levels. Then the HbA1c test, which shows the diabetic control in the patient, which is done every 3 months or as suggested by the doctor, and depending on the percentage which you get, it shows that the diabetic control of that patient during those months was good or not. Then the renal function test and liver function test every 3 to 4 months or as suggested by the doctor. Then adverse effects. Chlorpropamide leads to hypoglycemia. That is, it is more common in elderly and people with renal or liver disease. That is, the people having renal and liver impairment have more chances of developing hypoglycemia because it is excreted in urine and metabolized in liver. So when they both are impaired or any one of them is impaired, its action in the body and in blood will increase. Then weight gain, cholecystatic jaundice. That is, it is a condition where the flow of bile from the liver is either slowed down or stops. Because the drug chlorpropamide leads to liver damage, it was found in 12% of the people, and so because of that it will lead to cholecystatic jaundice. Then rashes and photosensitivity. Then dilutional hyponatremia, because it activates the antidiuretic hormone, so that will lead to water retention, and then hyponatremia. Then the facial flushing and disulfiram like reaction, that is due to alcohol intolerance. In this reaction, that individual after administering of alcohol within 15 to 20 minutes will develop symptoms like flushing, facial flushing, then nausea, vomiting, erythema, then throbbing headache, tachycardia, and hangover like symptoms, and they may last for 1 hour or more than that. Then nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. We know that many of the drugs, in fact all the drugs, can easily lead to nausea and vomiting because the chemotherapeutic trigger zone, which is present inside our body, it is located outside the blood-brain barrier. So any drug can easily reach there and cause nausea and vomiting. Then the diarrhea and constipation, the gastrointestinal side effects, adverse effects, and headache. Then contraindications, that is, this drug is contraindicated in type 1 diabetes mellitus, that is where there is problem in insulin secretion. Then diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a complication of type 1 diabetes mellitus. Then hypersensitivity and sulfur allergy, because it is a drug of the class sulfonylurea, so contains sulfur, which people having sulfonamide and sulfur allergy can easily develop to photosensitivity and rashes and other hypersensitivity reactions. Then severe renal impairment, because the drug is metabolized in the liver, and it is excreted unchanged in urine, so its excretion will decrease, so which will lead to hypoglycemia. And pregnancy and breastfeeding, because this drug can easily pass through placenta or through milk while breastfeeding and enter in the fetus and then cause hypoglycemia in the baby or birth defects. Then the cautions. In such conditions we have to use this drug cautiously, or we can use any alternatives present. in renal impairment, in liver impairment, as we have discussed many times, that the metabolism and the excretion of the drug will be affected. So the hypoglycemia, chances of hypoglycemia are more. Then efficacy may reduce with prolonged use because due to down regulation of the receptors. Then the patient with risk of severe hypoglycemia, malnourished patients, patients with risk factors for cardiovascular events. Then this drug has a pregnancy category C. That is, it should be used with caution if benefits outweigh the risk. But generally, it is not used in pregnancy. Then the drug interactions. There are several drugs which interact with chlorpropamide and lead to either enhancement or decrease of that action of the drug. So first we'll study the drugs which can enhance the action of sulfonylureas. So with green color I have written the mechanism, that how these drugs will increase the action. So phenylbutanol, sulfonpyrazone, salicylates, sulfonamides, they can displace the drug from protein binding. So the drug available for the volume distribution in the body will be more. So it can lead to enhanced action, which will lead to hypoglycemia. Then the drugs like cimetidine, warfarin, chloramphenicol, alcohol intake, they can inhibit the metabolism and excretion of the drug. Even alcohol intake, it is because that this drug, that is chlorpropamide, will lead to inhibition of the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase. So that can lead to flushing like symptoms, and even the metabolism of the drug is inhibited. Then the drugs like salicylates, propranolol, theophylline, lithium, they will synergize the action or prolong the pharmacodynamic action of the drug. Then the drugs which can decrease the action of sulfonylurea. Phenobarbital, phenytoin and rifampicin, they can induce the metabolism, so that the drug available in the blood will decrease, and the effect of the medication won't be seen. And the drugs like corticosteroids, thiazides, furosemides, oral contraceptive diazoxides, they can oppose the action or suppress the insulin release. Then the patient or family education, which is an important part, or we can say the heart of the treatment. The patient and the family should be educated. They should have each and every each and every idea about whatever they are suffering from, and what medications are they are taking, and if they stop taking it, what can be the complications and what they can lead to, all the facts and all the things which they need to know. And counseling is the most important part of any therapy or treatment. So here, regarding drug, the patient or family should be educated that the patient has to take the medication exactly how the doctor has told them, and in the way it is prescribed. And the chlorpropamide is to be taken approx 30 minutes before the meal. Then you should never skip or double the dose. Even if you miss the dose, then you have to take the medicine as soon as you remember. But if it is already the time for the next dose, then you have to skip the missed dose. But you can never double the dose, which will lead to severe and fatal hypoglycemia. Then you have to avoid alcohol. Then you have to consult your doctor before taking any other medicine concomitantly, because we know that people easily start taking other food supplements, then herbal and ayurvedic medicines and all, which can easily interact with the medications which they are using for their particular disease condition. So they should have idea regarding that. Then regarding the disease, that is diabetes mellitus, you should never skip meals after taking the medication. Because it can lead to hypoglycemia. Then you have to avoid sugary and processed food, and you have to cut the carbs intake. Then you have to reduce your weight if overweight or obese, so it will help to sensitize the target tissues, and it will increase the effect of the medication. Then you have to monitor your blood glucose levels regularly before and after meals. Then you have to go for eye checkups, renal, liver and HbA1c test regularly, because after a certain period of time, so that all the complications are not occur in the body. Then the exercise precautions which you have to take, that is, patient who have blood sugar level more than 250 and who has urine ketones present, then they should not begin the exercise until the urine tests are negative. This is generally in case of type 1 diabetes mellitus. Then you have to use the proper footwear, then you have to avoid the exercise in extreme heat or cold, then have snacks after the exercise to avoid the post exercise hypoglycemia. And then now we have the multiple choice questions, so let's solve them one by one. First one, in which of the following condition chlorpropamide is absolutely contraindicated? The options are GFR is 90 ml per minute, diabetes mellitus type 2, diabetic ketoacidosis, and diabetes insipidus. We can see that except the C option, all the options are present where we actually use the drug. Even in when GFR is 90 ml per minute, it is normal. So we can say that when it is severe renal impairment, we have to avoid it. But at this GFR rate, we can use the medication. So the answer will be C, that is diabetic ketoacidosis, which is the complication of type 1 diabetes mellitus. Then the second one, which of the following drugs can enhance the effect of chlorpropamide? That is furosemide, rifampicin, warfarin, and oral contraceptive. The answer will be C, that is warfarin. It can enhance the effect of chlorpropamide. Rest three drugs can decrease the action of sulfonylurea. Then the third one, that which of the following factors doesn't affect or cannot provoke the hypoglycemia when patient is on chlorpropamide? Avoiding meals, severe renal problem, eating additional snacks if you increase the physical activity, and patient is administering propranolol. So the answer will be C, that is eating additional snacks if you increase the physical activity, because logically even when you increase the physical activity, the need of the body for glucose will increase, so you have to eat additional snacks to avoid hypoglycemia. And as you can see in the option, even it can lead to hypoglycemia, where the risk of hypoglycemia is less when you are on cardioselective beta blocker, but propranolol is not cardioselective. Then fourth one is chlorpropamide acts by which of the following mechanisms? Enhances calcium influx, repolarization of potassium sensitive channels by decreasing the release of insulin, and by downregulation of sulfonylurea receptors. So the right answer will be enhances the calcium influx, that is option A. Then the fifth one, which of the following is not an adverse effect of chlorpropamide? Weight gain, cholestatic jaundice, alcohol intolerance, and hypernatremia. The right answer will be option D, that is hypernatremia, because we know that chlorpropamide can lead to hyponatremia because of the activation of antidiuretic hormone. Thank you everyone. Hope you got the basic idea about chlorpropamide and learned new facts regarding the drug, and hope this video will help you in future to solve any queries or whatever question arises in your mind regarding chlorpropamide. Once again, thank you.